Hi and welcome to Movies Suck. Today I'm reviewing Bill and Ted Face the Music, a movie that no one really expected to ever happen, even after the rumours started circulating. Everyone was saying they're just too old to pull that role off again. It's just going to be a bit sad. That is if they ever make it. And what could it be about? They already achieved the objective at the end of the last movie, didn't they? I also heard people say, the movie's pointless. Who wants to see an old Bill and an old Ted? We should just remember how cool the originals were and not have some modern woke Hollywood nonsense movie. Well, I heard all these things, and I pretty much agreed with them generally, but there was a small piece in my heart that truly hoped this movie would happen, that hoped that maybe, just maybe, Bill and Ted could come out of retirement and create something great for old time's sake. The original writers of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey returned to write this new adventure for the beloved duo, and that was an amazing plus because they know the characters, they know how they speak, the sort of references they should make. They should give us that authentic feel. And obviously, this movie could not have been made without Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, the stars and physical embodiments of Bill and Ted. They were born to play those roles, they really were. In the case of Alex Winter, he still feels exactly like the original character. He even looks almost exactly the same. There are only a couple of occasions when he actually looks a bit old. Keanu, on the other hand, is a different story. And his heart is definitely in it, but his body and mannerisms just aren't quite on point. And this is the first movie I've seen him in where he actually looks a bit old. He appears stiff and awkward. He seems to have lost a bit of the surface-style speech that he had in his early days when he was in Bill and Ted and Point Break. It's just such a shame to see him struggle with a role that made his name in Hollywood. Sometimes you just can't quite regain that magic. That said, what I really enjoyed were the interactions between Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter. It felt just like old times. And this is where all the fun in this movie comes from. Whether it's my long-cherished memories of those two great original films, or whether it's because they really are still great on screen together, watching them together really is the whole point of this movie. To bring these actors back together in the form of these long-missed characters is just such a long-cherished dream for many fans of the series, and they really do not disappoint. Sadly now, I have to talk about the movie itself, and that is not a pleasant thing to have to do, nor is it something that I really want to do, as I don't want to have to tear strips off of something that myself and other die-hard fans have waited for a long time. But this is a movie review, and I have no choice but to be honest and clear about what I saw, and what I saw, well, it was an unmitigated catastrophe of a movie. It does nothing, not one single little thing for the myth of Wild Stallions, nor for the characters themselves. The story is unbelievably lame, and in this day and age, with Hollywood the way it is, it was a foregone conclusion that it was going to be woke. And we could only hope that that wokeness would be low-key and unnoticeable. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Bill and Ted are suddenly now no longer world famous, and they're treated as though their first album did well, but, after that it was a downward spiral into obscurity. Which seems strange considering at the end of the first movie they'd pretty much achieved world peace and fixed the climate. Even their mere presence was enough to increase crop gains. So what went wrong? Well, the answer to that lies in the new storyline influenced purely by modern woke Hollywood and left-wing agendaed thinking. The simplest example of this I can give you is that Bill and Ted's sons from Bogus Journey have now been gender swapped into daughters, with the explanation that they were previously referred to as boys as some kind of cutesy silly nickname type thing. No, I didn't believe it either. Clearly there is nonsense going on here, and if only that were the end of it, that would have been fine. Well, no it wouldn't, but they even make these daughters do impressions of young Bill and Ted. And it has to be said that actually Ted's daughter Billy does a pretty good impersonation of a young Ted. The actress must have watched the original movies a few times to get that down. Samara Weaving, on the other hand, who plays Thea, is just plain awful. She was by far the worst thing in this movie. Her attempt at being young Bill is bitty and poor and feels as though she didn't actually watch the previous movies. All she is doing is just a bit of a surfer-style accent and using the word dude a lot, which again really highlighted how good Bridget Lundy Payne was in her Ted impersonation. The whole thing with the daughters is just a big boring distraction from the fun part, which is watching Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter as they have adventures through time meeting their future selves, all of which was sadly cut short by the movie's need to introduce us to the daughters and give them a reason for being in the movie, and for the rather disappointing finale. A finale that could have been so much better had the movie not distracted itself with the story of these added-on daughters. A highlight that you were no doubt all expecting is the return of Death, and William Sadler does not disappoint in his reprisal of the character, though I do wish that he had had more screen time. He is sadly underused in this movie. He is a very good actor, playing a very fun character, and we just don't see enough of him. The rest of the cast does okay, nothing to write home about. They fill their roles as they were hired to, and honestly, they mean very little to the story. I don't want to have to hate on this movie, but the fact is that Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures were wrapped up nicely in Bogus Journey, and while I am happy to see Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves back together again, this was just not the movie they should have made. There was another great Bill and Ted movie out there, somewhere in the ether, but this just wasn't it. The scope of this movie was also very limited compared with the originals. The time spent with the characters was just too little, and the big ideas were really all small scale and not given the time to reach any kind of proper fruition. I don't want to give away the whole plot, because I made this review to tell you what I think of the movie in general, not spoil it for you if you do choose to watch it. But I will say that Bill and Ted are now not the heroes they once were. So, my final verdict is that if what you wanted was to be highly entertained and to feel that you have spent your hard-earned money well then this is not the movie for you. If what you were looking for was a movie with a great story that would fill in a little time and give you a bit of a chuckle to lighten the load of lockdown and make you feel like things aren't really so bad, well, this is not the movie for you. If you are huge fans and what you were looking for was a bit of nostalgia and a chance to see two iconic characters return to the big screen for what I can only believe must be the last time, then, well, you'll get your wish, and I have no doubt there are bits of this movie that you will love and will make you laugh out loud. But the bitter aftertaste of that ending, that will stay with me for a long time, and it'll probably stay with you too. So, instead of lamenting on what could have been, let's remember those first movies, because they were just about perfect.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
We're totally gonna kill you now.
No way!
Yes way, Ted.
We're fully programmed to do it.
Yeah, and we want to do it too.
This has been Movie Suck, wishing all of you to be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.